Well, the one other question, since we were talking about titles and where you come up with those, what about names,
Oh, names.
character names? And then
Yes.
I have a follow-up question to that. So keep
Yeah.
going.
So, I people think I'm texting a lot, but I'm really not. I'm putting notes into my phone. So everywhere I go, if somebody has a really cool, unique name. Like in my novel Marijuana Mermaid, which came out earlier this year, I had a character named Sabina, not Sabrina. I took the R
Yeah.
out of it, but I had a student named Sabina, and I just loved the name. And I'm like, I'm gonna put your name in a novel one day, and I did and so I'm always like, I'm writing down names everywhere I go, like unusual spellings of names. I always think about, do you remember when we were kids and you would go to like a souvenir shop and they would have
Yeah.
like the little license plates with everybody's, or keychains and everybody's name on it? And that poor kid who had an unusual name didn't have a
No,
keychain.
no, what's worse is who doesn't have an unusual name and they don't make one for her is Dawn.
Yeah, yeah.
Dawn, they didn't do it for the Coke. They don't do it for the little license plate or the keychains. It's DIWN.
Yeah, we have love for her, by the way.
Yes, we do. But that poor girl, and I go like, I'm like, I'll find one, and I'll go into a store of souvenirs. I'm like,
Yeah.
they don't make. How do you not make? Anyways,
So I always think about that, that unusual name, but, and also too, like, I think about the character, like, in my play Clean, I named the daughter Melanie. She's the daughter of a movie star, and I thought of like Melanie Griffith and people like that. So I always try to pick like a name that feels like the personality of the character a lot. And I'll change names too. Like my character might have, the name Anne during the first draft, but then I realized that she needs to be Angela. And so it just evolves. And so a lot of times the character will inform me a little bit too about that name change. Like, that's not my name. You need to change my name. It needs to be something more fun. But I record names in my phone everywhere I go. Like when people wait on me and they have a name tag and it's a cool name, I'm like, how do you pronounce that? And I'm putting it in my phone. So then I go back to that and I have like my own little name database that I draw from. On a rough day, there's a couple of really great websites that do random name generators that you can put in. I need a first name and a last name, and you can put in some characteristics, and it creates they're not always great. You have to do a little bit of, filtering, but some of my character names have come from that random. That's on a tired day when I'm like, I don't got any more names in my.
well, that was my next question. Is like, how do you come up with a last name?
Oh, last names. Last names are similar. Last names are usually some form of tribute. Like I'm giving tribute to an author or an actor or a friend or somebody who's done some remarkable thing in their life. And so I'll often use somebody's last name that I know, but with a different first name as a nod to them.
Right.
Sometimes when people have passed on, I'll use their last name as a tribute to them. So just kind of a way to pay homage. But again, it goes with certainly ethnicity is a key factor. So if I have a Latina character, Latino character, Italian character, I'm going to be looking for those types of names specifically too. I do a lot of internet sleuthing and just looking at like popular names for this time period and this region and so forth, and you can find all kinds of information about a name like Mary, which was really popular in a certain era.
Sure.
So, and it just trying to pick something that matches up with the character, I think, is
because
a lot of fun. But sometimes I know their names right away. Like that happens more with novels. Like I'll know exactly when I'm getting the idea for the story. I'm like, oh, her name is Samantha, and I just know right away. But other times you have to go find it.
Yeah, I don't. First names usually aren't too much of an issue for me. It's those last names, and for whatever reason, it's got to be some symbolic. I don't know why.
Well,
And so I'll look. I'll like go through. I'm like, well, what's a Czech last name? What's a Czech surname that means Bray? I'm like, it's terrible because it doesn't have to be, but I'll spend 30 minutes on a name, and then when I type, I'll use, which was one of the most brilliant things that somebody taught me in writing. He's like, I use brackets. I'm like, what do you mean use brackets? He's like, don't slow down your momentum. Keep writing, put brackets. And then so it'd be like Mark and then brackets, insert clever name later and then move on. So, but sometimes I forget that that's in when I was in my writers group for a while, it, we would read it and then like insert clever, I'm like, that's not, sorry. I work with brackets. So you don't have to read that part out loud.
That's
So
hilarious. When I was working on my last novel, which isn't out yet, it's called Pitch Out. I was reading through the final draft, getting it ready for my editor. I realized that the character we never see, but is referred to a lot. It's a husband. But in one part of the novel, I called him Robert, and then another part of the novel, he was Charles, and then he was Alan. And then I was like, I need to pick one name and stick with it. And so it was so funny that I was like, what name will he be in this chapter? And I hadn't even consciously done it; it just happened. But I use it as a placeholder, like kind of like what you're talking about, that bracket placeholder. But I actually gave the guy a name, but I changed his name 3 times without realizing I had done that. So that's what a good editor does.
yeah,
Misnames.
I didn't realize that I had changed the last name of a teacher in one of my screenplays as well, and not to go on screenplays. I know this is a playwriting podcast, but I forgot to go back and change it in certain spots, and they're like, the people are confused. I'm like, well, wait, who's this and who's that? I'm like, no, that's the same person. Never mind. It was a mistake on my part.
Right.
Welcome to our Clips channel, and thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed that video. If you did, be sure to smash that like button and leave a comment down below while you're at it. If you'd like to be notified about future episodes featuring playwriting tips, be sure to click this channel button right here and subscribe there. If you want to see the full conversation of this episode, be sure to click the link right here. And if you'd like to see other playwriting tips from past episodes, be sure to click this link right here. And until we see each other again, and in the meantime, keep writing.